Welcome to year 2 of A Mick, a Mook, and a Mike.
Hosted by 4-time Emmy-nominated producer
Frank Bates and retired New York City firefighter, 9/11 first responder, and Vietnam vet, Billy O'Connor.
Today's guest, choreographer to the stars, from Prince to Usher to Zendaya to Michelle Obama, Rosero McCoy.
How you doing, my friend?
How you doing, my brother? How's everything with you?
Good, good.
Yeah? Life is just a Cheruboli's or what?
Life is a Cheruboli is exactly correct.
Uh-huh.
We got over it. You still eating your Halloween candy?
Me? My daughter texted me the other day. She goes, by the way, she goes, if mommy, meaning my ex-wife, texts me one more time and talks about fentanyl and the candies for kids.
Yeah, I heard about that. My wife was telling me about that the other day. What do you, Derek, you got some comments on that? Derek Harris?
I read a book years ago, maybe like 15 years ago, called Fear. And the book basically talked about all of these urban myths. Essentially, they were urban myths, like things that...
Did Tony Fauci write it?
Did you read that book? The Fauci book? You should. Oh, very good. Anyway, so there were a bunch of things such as razor blades and apples, kids being kidnapped, that we have gone around, that have gone around the world as things that happen. But in reality, when you look, when they did the research on these things, most of those things didn't happen. And if they did happen, they happened in one instance, and it was within a small community or between family members. So that's probably...
And then it just perpetuates and perpetuates. I remember back in the 60s, when somebody'd say, they took a guy would tell me they took my nephew to a psych ward because he was tripping on LSD. I said, oh, yeah, what happened? Somebody put it in his coffee.
Yeah, sure.
That's what people are doing. They run around throwing LSD in their coffee,
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Well, before we go to Joe West, I just want to say we're going to, our guest today will be Rosero McCoy, choreographer to the stars. But first, let's go to Way Out West with Joe West.
2 stars on that transition.
Hey, there he is.
There he is himself.
How you doing, my friend?
Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
Okay, so before we start, Rod Carew called me this week, and he said, you're having a cowboy on, I see. I said, yes. He said, ask him about March 30th, 1979. What happened that day?
Oh, he's made up this story that I kicked him out of some ball game. I never kicked him out of a game. I saw him in Minnesota the other day.
He said I should call him. I should try to get him on the line. But I know he won't answer the phone. So.
Well, the funny thing is he kept saying that you kicked me out of a spring training game. It was the Dodgers Anaheim series, and you kicked me out of the game.
It was his first game as an Angel in Anaheim Stadium. It was the Freeway Series.
Well, if he got kicked out, he obviously wasn't an Angel. Oh, you were an Anaheim. But anyway, wow, the point is, I never worked that series, so that couldn't have been me. He's got me mistaken with somebody that's really good looking.
You didn't work that series?
No, I never worked I guess it was called the Freeway Series because they had it every year, But I never worked there because my spring training was always in Florida. And if I ever had him in a game, it would have been at Tinker Field when he was with Minnesota. But he was.
I'm going to tell him that.
I told him that when I saw him in Minnesota. He said, I remember you. And I said, no, you don't.
You may remember me, but it's not from the Freeway Series, that's for sure.
What a great hitter he was.
Boy, he sure was.
Oh, my goodness. I think it was you that told me they asked him if what he would hit if they put the shift on him. He said 900.
Yeah, he would. I mean, you couldn't get him out. And I think he was underestimating what he would hit because he just bunt down the third base line.
Yeah, well, yeah. You couldn't play him like they're trying to play these guys today.
Well, they won't be able to do that next year. I understand you are an observer of wardrobe in television shows. Is that correct?
Well, I've been doing some research on little things, and every now and then you get to read something, and it really makes sense for what they did. But did you know that in Bonanza, they never changed the wardrobe of the participants in case they had to use the same footage for another scene at another date. So Michael Landon and Dan Blocker and Lauren Green, they were always wearing the same exact outfit, same vest, same shirt, same hat, everything, each time they were in it. And it's really funny because I was in that movie, The Naked Gun, with Leslie Nielsen, and I was the third base umpire. Well, the first base umpire was a guy named Hank Robinson, and we didn't know it until we sat down with him between shots, and he said, "Yeah, I was Lauren Green's double because he was afraid of horses." And so anytime you saw Lauren Green on a horse or riding, it was Hank, and Hank was hilarious. He told the story about the time he got his first acting job, and he told us this the day before we were supposed to shoot the scene that I had with the speaking part, which made me a lot of money. Anyway, he says, I'm on this Gene Autry picture, and he says, the director comes over, and I'm just the extra, I'm the blacksmith in the thing, and the director says, I'm going to give you a speaking part, Hank, and he says, oh, great, what do I do? He says, well, Gene's going to ride up on Champion, he's going to pull the reins back, and he's going to say, did you see some riders come through here? And your line is, yes, I did. Hank said, I sat there all morning going, yes, I did. Yes, I did. Yes, he's practicing. So now they break to go to lunch. Well, you know, Frank, when you're an extra, you get a sandwich and a Coke. But when you got a speaking part, you're now one of the actors and you get a full course meal, whatever you want, soup, salad, anything for lunch. So Hank's got this big tray of food and he can't even eat it. And he's sitting there with his food in front of him. He's going, yes, I did. Yes, I did. But sure enough, he doesn't eat a thing for lunch. And now, right after lunch, they're going to shoot the scene for the blacksmith. And the director says, Hank, are you ready for the scene? He goes, yes, I did. Yes, I did. Sure enough, so he says, well, Gene's going to ride Champion back that way. When he makes the turn, we're going to start filming. And he says, and Champion's going to stop right on that spot right there. And Gene's going to ask you. He says, I know. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. So sure enough, just as it happened, Gene takes the horse, runs him back around, and Champion stops right on the mark the director said he would stop on. And he said, did you see some riders come through here? And Hank said, did I? So, of course, the director goes, cut, you know. So in our picture, he told us that story that morning. And now we go on the field to do the argument at first base with Leslie Nielsen. And the argument is he's out, he's safe, he's out, he's safe. Why, you idiot, he was out the first time he ran out of the baseline. And then Leslie Nielsen kicks him out of the game. And when he kicks Hank out of the game, I was supposed to say, you can't kick an umpire out of the game, but then he kicks me out of the game. Well, the director sees us do this one time, and he says, Hank, when he throws you out of the game, you bow your chest out, and you say, what do you mean? And Joe, you come in on, what do you mean? And I said to myself, he's got no chance of getting this right. He's been rehearsing this argument for 2 months, and you're going to give him that. He has no chance, right? So sure enough, he said, you want to rehearse it? And Hank says, no, we got it. So they start the argument. He's out, he's safe. He's out, he's safe. He's out. Well, you idiot, he was out the first time he ran out of the base. All right, you're out of here. And Hank bows his chest out and says, what do you mean? Joe, what's my line? Just turn around. What's my line? And when he did that, I said, did I? Because he had told us that morning, right? And when I said, did I, Leslie Nielsen said, would I? And Hank turned around and said, did I? And Leslie said, would I? And Hank said, did I? And now they're going, did I, would I, did I, would I? And the director said, hold it. It was funnier than the movie. Now, the movie was hilarious, but I mean, this take was, they should have kept that because it was hilarious. But there's no chance he was going to get that right.
I hired Hank twice. I hired Hank once on a series called Bay City Blues, which was the Stephen Botzko's follow-up to Hill Street Blues, as an umpire. He always got cast as an umpire, and he was always behind the plate. And then I hired him again on A Winner Never Quits, which was the story of Pete Gray, I think recently you told us a story about Ellis Kinder or something, but Pete Gray played for the St. Louis Browns in the early 40s. He was a one-arm outfielder, and we had a great cast in that. But Hank was an umpire in that. That started Ed O'Neill and Keith Carradine and Mayor Winningham and David Delaney and Dennis Weaver.
Wow,
it was a great.
And Hank was always the umpire because he had the gray hair.
Yep.
And he was cast as an umpire. He never umpired a day in his life. He was actually a minor league baseball player at one time, but he never umpired. But he was Hollywood's umpire. Angels in the outfield. He was the plate umpire every day.
Yep. You mentioned Bonanza and you mentioned minor league baseball. Bing Russell, who owned the Portland Beavers, I think, and was Kurt Russell's dad, was the sheriff in Bonanza for like 10 years.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
Yep, 10 years. And if you look at it, you can see Bing Russell. He had it steady down for 10 years, but he truly loved baseball. That was the great love of his life. And he bought the Portland Mavericks or the Portland Beavers in the mid-'70s, and they went on to make a documentary about him.
Yeah, I think his son did the documentary.
Yeah.
Right? Kurt Russell did, right?
Kurt Russell did the documentary about his dad because Kurt was actually a pretty good baseball player himself.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think they had a cousin that played first base for the Braves. I can't remember his name though.
Maybe.
He was a utility player. He played for the Braves, outfielder, first baseman for the Braves. I'll remember that after we get off the air.
For sure.
You know, it's funny with the talking about the same Bonanza, the same outfits. Comics do that all the time. If they're going to film an hour special, you know, they might put together a coalition of their best stuff, like Richard Pryor might do. Well, not Richard Pryor, but say whoever might do 20 different cities, and they'll take a cup, but they got to wear the same clothes because they're going to compile it, right? I mean, well, you guys know.
Yeah, well, that's what's called matching. That's why. That's why we change shirts.
I thought you were concerned about my style.
No, I'm more concerned about your breasts.
Imagine all my life I love big breasts, and now I got them.
So, Joe, how'd you get your nickname, Cowboy Joe West or Country Joe West?
Well, I had written a song and I had sent it to Merle Haggard. And Jim Belkin was his fiddle player, and I knew Jimmy pretty well from the Houston Rodeo. And Jimmy was a concert violinist that Merle had stolen from Mel Tillis. And so when I sent him the cassette of what we'd done, he said, you know, if Merle cuts this, it'll just be a B record. It'll be a B side. It won't be an A side. And this is, I'll tell you how long ago it was. They were doing vinyl records back then. So you remember the vinyls.
Yep.
So he sent it back. He said, you should put this out as a novelty. And so I did. And by the time I got it back, I'd written 3 more songs. And I was really a Gilly rat at the time. I used to go to Mickey Gilly's club in Pasadena, Texas, and I'd sit in with the band. And so that's how I got the nickname Cowboy, was because of that album that I put out. And it's really neat because through my connections with Belkin, I got to meet and befriend Merle Haggard. And Merle was a strange duck. He was like most people that are very successful, and his mind was so good at focusing on what he had to do that it was unique about how he would go about his business. And he actually said one day, he says, I'm writing songs 24 hours a day. And he was, sometimes you'd talk to him and he didn't hear a word you said because he's thinking of something else. But he was a brilliant musician. And one of the funniest stories about him, he told one himself one time. He says, we come off the road and one of my guys has got a parent in the nursing home. So I asked him if I could go with him to visit his dad in the nursing home. And he said, well, absolutely. He'd be tickled to death to see you. So they go to the nursing home, and when Merle walks in the room, the guy's father got out of bed and came up and gave Merle a big hug. The nurse went over and said, he ain't been out of bed in 2 weeks. Merle Haggard comes in the room and is like, Jesus Christ walked into him. He gets up out of bed like nothing happened. And Merle said, I could see he wasn't doing too well. So I told him, I said, I'll go out and sit on the front porch and you stay with your dad as long as you want to. And so Merle went out and sat in a rocking chair on the front porch of this nursing home. And he wasn't out there a minute. And this little old lady came out with her oxygen in her nose and her walker, and she sat right down next to Merle Haggard. And Merle said, she didn't say hello. She didn't say kiss my ass. She said, I hate this new country music. I like the old artists like Merle Haggard and George Jones and Marty Robbins and Jim Wick. And she's just naming off this list of old country singers. And of course, Merle kind of perked up and he says, well, ma'am, do you know who I am? And she said, well, no, Sonny, but if you go in there to the front desk, they'll be able to tell you who you are.
Oh, we can't top that.
That's a tough one to top.
That's a great one, Joe. Thanks for joining us for another segment of Way Out West.
Thanks so much, Joe.
Thank you.
All right. You take care.
Oh,
too much. They'll be able to tell you at the front desk. Have a little problem there, a little identity crisis.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's too much. You know, it's funny with Country Joe West. He talked about why he got the name country because of singing, but I got to tell you, the yarns he tells, that's pure country. Seems like it.
He's got some great ones. And another guy who's got some yarns is my friend Rosero McCoy, choreographer to the stars. Why don't we show a little clip of Rosario's teaching methods?
Pussy out here, like I smack all of y'all niggas in the face, all in the mouth, and all of this shit. Where your niggas come from? Your niggas not from. Your niggas was not dirty. Your niggas come from. Okay. Bitches better quit that chat. These bitches better hold it with the gizat cap. I grip the fifth and click cause that clank. I hate to have to blow your little wiggle back. I mean, I hate to have to see you with your wiggle bitch. I see you trying to get on, bitch. You going trip, slip, fall in and lick on dick. And be the same nigga about to come and lick on this. Hold up. Scream, hit the breeze. You a fan, bitch, please. Don't slip up in the presence of your little PMP. Don't get it at your residence and get it so clean. Cause I'm sick of with the evidence the bitches don't speak. And we can freak with you, man, this week. Bad bitches, you a nickel in your pussy game weak, huh? I'm fickle in my pussy name Peach. I could disappear and let the pussy game speak, huh? Let the pussy game speak. Niggas know the center of the pussy they peach. And these bitches better keep it going like feet for a reach. And that thing go
There he is.
That's unreal. It's like a jailbreak. Yeah, that's incredible.
Can we get it? There he is. There he is. How you doing, my friend?
What's up? How are you?
That's amazing.
That's Billy O'Connor, and that's Derek.
Hey, Billy.
My pleasure to meet you, Rose.
Derek,
Nice meeting you. Nice meeting you. Nice meeting you both.
Wow.
All right.
Wow. How old are you now?
Oh, 21 again.
You're doing the same things you could do at 21, that's for sure.
21 again, man. I stay there. And well, in theory, I try to stay there. Trust me. The body is a little more down, but it still does what it needs to do.
Well, you've had a magnificent career. You work with, Zendaya.
Yeah.
On Shake It Up. You worked with
right.
Mrs. Obama, Tony Braxton, Nina Simone, Sheena E. And you recently got nominated for a Soul Train Award for the opening that was shot at the Apollo for the WCA World Choreographers Award.
World Choreography Awards. So I'm very honored. That was a shock for me. That it takes place in November, and it's for the whole show. Because I choreographed the whole show, but the opening was the main number on it. But yeah, man, it's an honor to have that. I mean, I was shocked, overdue, I believe. But
there you go.
But yeah,
how'd you get your start in the business? Obviously, you were a dancer first.
Well, yeah, I danced first for a while. As soon as I'm a freestyle kid from the Bay Area, and then I moved to LA. And I did a lot of stuff dancing-wise. And then I got a break with a kid by the name of Usher, who blew up off of a choreographed video that me and my partner at the time, Jamal Sims, choreographed called You Make Me Wanna. And then, it went from there. I danced.
They don't know who Usher is.
Come on.
Yeah.
He's the guy. He's the guy at the movie theater that shows us to our seats.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right. That guy. He got a big break in music and dance. So, did a lot with him for a minute, and it just took off from there. I mean, it's been a good ride. I mean, dancing wise, before I even started with Usher, I did a lot there with just doing music videos. Music videos were so hot at the time, you know, and so I did a lot of music videos and just being that kid, throwing my body around. And then, like I said, got on with Usher because I choreographed You Make Me Wanna. And from there, it kept going. I mean, I got to do Tony. I got to do, the beautiful thing was a gamut of artists that I did. I did Celine Dion. I did Tony Braxton, Snoop Dogg. I was all over the place back then, but it was great, you know. So that's my beginning.
How were they to work with? How was Snoop Dogg to work with? How was Celine?
Oh, man. Okay.
How were they different?
Okay, very much so. The great thing about both of those artists, for me, Snoop, was just, I went in a little intimidated by him, and just the way he made me feel comfortable was great. Hey, you know, he said, who's a choreographer? And then I came in, and he was really cool, man. I like what you're doing with the dancers. Keep it up. You know, you can give me a little movement, but I don't want to be out there. I said, yeah, we'll just have the kids around you. He was great. Celine, another one with great work ethic for me, because she flew in. It was for the, it was a farewell that she was doing on the Billboard Awards. It was called That's the Way Love Is the song. And she came in 2 days and just knocked it out the park. And we closed out the show. So she was great to work with. I got to start working with her because I worked with a reggae artist by the name of Diana King, and they did a song together. And then I started working with Celine for a minute. So different, but work ethic, great. When you have a great artist with great work ethic, I mean, whether it's acting, singing, dancing, whatever, as long as their work ethic is good, it really makes it a lot easier for the creative. So it was great.
How would you say dancers like Michael Jackson and performers like Prince influenced your career?
Wow. You know, what I would say about someone like Michael and Prince is that they were true to their talent. I mean, I've always watched Michael Jackson. I've always watched Prince. You know, I've always watched Janet Jackson. You know, I watched Paula Abdul back in the day. I watched a bunch of different artists, you know, and then to get to work with them was great. But it was very much so their work ethic for me. You know, it wasn't anything that happened overnight. These kids, when you see people even today like a Beyonce or Christina Aguilera or people like that, they've been doing it since they were kids, Justin Timberlake. And their work ethic is not overnight. You know, a lot of people, a lot of this generation feels like it's in the now, it's right now. But this stuff is definitely your work ethic. And then when you're going in, being that cool person to work with, you know, and dance and living your truth in any art form, for me, at least.
Well, Derek doesn't like any actors under the age of 25. I mean, he doesn't like movies. Do you think maybe that's a factor of their work ethic?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Are you asking Derek?
No, I'm asking you.
Well, I think it would be their work ethic. I mean, I feel like, you know, well, for me, if you, and for lack of better words, if you are not a great person when you're poor, you're not going to be a great person when you're rich. You know, you're just a product of whatever that environment is. For me, I feel like it would have to be their work ethic. I've had some great actors like Zendaya and Bella were great to work with. You know, my vibe and my chemistry lends itself more to, you know, one more than the other, but they both were great to work with. They worked hard, you know, they were young kids, and you know, and it's paying off for both of them in their own right, in their own way. You know, we know Zendaya where she is, and Bella does it on her terms, you know. So I definitely feel it has a lot to do with the work. I mean, I've worked with some people that I don't have to want to work with again. You know, that I was happy that I was a fan of their music, and then I worked with them. I was like, I'd rather just be a fan of their music.
Who is that?
You know.
There he goes. I think we lost him for a second.
I'm just kidding. Yeah.
Okay, good. I was like, are we being that real today?
I mean, you can answer if you want.
No, I mean, and it wasn't that the person was, it just wasn't what I expected. You know, I did, and may he rest in peace because I love his music, but I worked with George Michaels and I worked with Prince. And when I worked with George Michaels, I loved him. And then when I got to work with him on a video, it was right after his big scandal. I don't know if you guys remember, he had a big scandal in Beverly Hills. Yeah, so he was on a different tip, and it wasn't the greatest experience. And I remember when I worked with Prince, you know, he flew me out to his Paisley Park, and I was there for like 2 weeks, and we never did anything. And then the first time I saw him, I was in the lunchroom like I do all the time, waiting, thinking this will be the day we work together. And I was ordering my food, and I said, I'll have a turkey burger and fries to the person. And then I hear in my back mind, I said, we don't eat meat here. And I looked, and it was Prince. And I was like, okay, well, I haven't seen this dude in 2 weeks. And he's telling me I can't have a turkey burger? You know, I've been eating turkey burgers every day. But he said, we just don't eat meat here. And I said, oh, okay, well, I'll just have, you know, a green salad. And had that salad. We worked one day, and then I left. And I just like, that wasn't the greatest experience for me because I like turkey burgers. I didn't want a damn salad. I had a salad. I didn't want it. I wanted a turkey burger. That's what happened. So, you know, we're all humans on this planet, and we, you know, sometimes different artists get a different way of viewing people, and you know, I'm not down for that. Wow. That's just not me.
You broke with Prince. You broke with Prince over a turkey burger.
Over a turkey burger, dude. Over a turkey burger. You know, and it's so crazy because, and I know I'm not going to stay on this, but after that moment, the vibe session with he and I and the girl at the time, her name was Thomasina Gross. I remember her because me and her were practicing all week. She's married to an actor right now. I forgot his name. Anyway, you know, we were there the whole week working out this vibe, and then he finally came in, and he, you know, it wasn't what I expected. That's what I'll say. So, you know, my experience with different people is different, but it was great. Both of those artists are incredible in their own right, but I'd rather just be a fan. And then you have these artists that you work with, like Tony, like Keke Palmer as an actress, like Zendaya, like Bella. You have these people that come in, and they don't really change who they are as that person, and you have a great vibe. But I mean, that's in life, right? You don't get on with everybody. Yeah. Like, I love Frank Pace, but I don't know how many people love Frank Pace, right?
I know one in this room. I know one in this room has got his scouts.
Oh man,
I can't get over that story that you're on the clock for 2 weeks and the guy never shows up. I mean, has that ever happened?
2 weeks.
Has that ever happened?
And you know what? Never. That's never happened. I mean, you know, never. But you know, I was in a hotel. I'd wake up and go to his Paisley Park studios and wait. You know, and one day I did come in, and he was playing basketball in his heels. I remember seeing that, and I was like, he has on heels. He's playing basketball in his little hoop, but he never came in and rehearsed. Wow. You know,
how's it different working with musical talent than working with actors? Because now you're working on Call Me Kat,
right?
Our Fox show,
right? How
is it different working with a Celine Dion? Well, I don't want to say Prince, but a Tony Braxton, and working with a Zendaya or a Maya Bialik?
Well, you know, Maya can move. You know, little from her Blossom days and all those days of dancing and moving. Maya moves. It really depends on. I always feel anybody can dance. Anybody can move. You just got to find out what they do. A lot of choreographers go in with this big vision of what they're going to put on somebody, and then you get there and it all goes away. You have to be prepared to work with what you have. So. And more than it just being actors to musical artists, it's just that individual. Like when I worked with Call Me Kat, when we were with Cheyenne, Kyla, and Julian, and we did this one of Cheyenne's songs. You know, they all can move pretty well, different speeds and different levels. But it was great to actually cater it to what their strong points were.
Well, Cheyenne's been on Broadway also.
Yeah. So he was great. Kyla was great. Julian was good, and it came together very well because, you know, all the steps were catered to what they can do. I wouldn't give them what I'm going to give Keke because Keke to me handles all the steps. Zendaya handles all of it. You know, they pretty much can dance and move, and so you give them a little bit more of what caters to them. So the only difference is, again, to me, it comes down to what people are willing to work with. Like when I work with Leslie, you teach him, and Leslie's doing whatever he wants to do. Like you show Leslie Jordan on Call Me Kat, but he's hilarious. So he brings it to life. You give him the skeleton of what it can be, and then he turns it into Leslie. Right. So, you know, that's the difference for me.
How is Zendaya? as an actress, as a young actress? How was she from your standpoint?
She was great.
No.
She was no. She was, you know, what I liked about Zendaya was Zendaya had a little more of a background with movement and dance than Bella. Bella worked harder to get hers. So Frank, by the time we got to the second or third season, Bella was a lot better than she was in the first season with her movement. But to work with, they both had a great work ethic. And, you know, Bella really wanted it and she caught up. And Zendaya from the outset she was just on it.
Were you surprised? Were you surprised that she was that good?
I was, but once I found out where she was from and where she came from and her training, because I know she was from the Bay. I'm from the Bay, and I know she was at a dance studio, Culture Shock up there, where she was a kid dancer. Then I knew we were in the house with her. She just had it. You know, I think even toward the end, she was a big reason why they brought in other choreographers because she wanted to be challenged more.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Which I didn't like, but you know.
Well, speaking of in the house, you were in another house, a White House with Michelle Obama. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that trip?
That was amazing, man. I was able to be a part of her healthy living campaign. And it was so funny because I was at Disney and I had to come up with a quick platypus dance. It was Perry the Platypus at the time. To go out there with her, Michelle Obama was there. I got to do it on 3 occasions. We did it on the Ellen Show. We did her healthy living campaign at the White House on Easter. It was when they had the big Easter egg hunt. And we did it one more time. I forgot what it was. When you get older, your brain goes. But it was a great experience. She was amazing to work with movement-wise. I had literally 5 minutes with her to teach her it. And she just showed it to me, I'll get it. And I remember showing it to her, and she picked it up, and then I did it right there in front of, oh man, that was such an amazing time for me. Wow. It was such a pivotal moment for me because in the moment of doing it, you don't realize how big it is. You do, but you don't. You realize that, wow, you know, it's like you're here with the First Lady. And then when I met the whole family, you know, it was a great, amazing point in my career that I will never take for granted. You should see that big old picture is hung up in the middle of my house. When you walk through the door, me and her. It was great. It was a great experience. She could move well. It was part of a healthy living campaign that she was on, and her, along with the Disney folks, had me keep going with her on different stops. And so I would come in and she'd be like, "Hey, Rosero." I'd be like, "The First Lady knows my name." Like, wow. You know, and it got so, but one thing is crazy is that, you know, when it was about to end, I thought, you know how people get. It's like she's been calling my name and saying things, and I went to say goodbye, and that Secret Service jumped in front of me so quick.
Wow.
They were like, "No, you're good." I was like, "Oh yeah, Rosero, you're doing too much. You're doing too much. You're doing too much."
You know, I think everybody has a point in their career that you think your career can be all downhill from there. Did you have that?
Yeah.
Did you have that feeling?
That was a moment for me, most definitely. I was like, wow, well, you know, there it is, kids. I mean, and especially when I look back at it, it's still one of those things that people say, wow, you were with Michelle Obama. You know, you're at the White House. You did the Easter egg thing with them and you know, met them all. And it was like, yeah, I did that. You know, that's going to be one for the history books. Yeah. That's kind of, you know, when all these other choreographers get gigs, I'd be like, yeah, but were you with the First Lady? No, I don't think so.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
My career is all downhill from here. Took place in like 1991 or something, 92, when I was at Don Rickles' birthday dinner. It was like his 70th birthday, and
wow.
everybody was there. You know, everybody in the world, every big celebrity was there. And I was sitting at the table next to Frank Sinatra, and somebody said, "It's time to sing Happy Birthday." And he said, "Will you lead the song, Frank?" And Frank said,
"Oh wow!"
And Frank said, I usually get 10 G's to do this, something like this. And then he got up and sang Happy Birthday. And De Niro was there. Sharon Stone was there. Everybody was there. And I turned to my wife and I said, my career is all downhill from here. That was
come on.
Michelle Obama, that's unbelievable. The White House. And she had a natural flair for dancing. I mean, she just had
she was pretty good, man. She got right up there, and it's all up on YouTube and it's got millions of views and what have you. But she's right there getting it, and I was just like, all right. And it was such a great moment, and I'm very, and it's just that moment. I was at the Mouse, because Frank, you were there, I think too, and it was just a moment in time that happened for me that I'll never forget. It was great.
Rosero, you talk so much about the work ethic, You got to work it out. And you're a freestyle dancer. Did you have to study all different kinds of classical dance and everything else? Did you look up like Baryshnikov and Fred Astaire, that kind of shit?
You know what? My journey was totally different than that, man. Like, it's so crazy. The reason why I say work ethic is because my work ethic it had to be a lot harder for me because I didn't grow up in conventions. Conventions meaning dance conventions. I didn't grow up in a bunch of dance classes. I am a freestyle kid. And what ended up happening to me is when I got here in even the fact that I'm saying 19 is crazy, 1990, I was just a freestyle kid, and I came down to get an agent. And once I got that agent, I was horrible at the audition. But when I freestyled for her name was Julie McDonald, she signed me. And then from there, I started working with great trained choreographers. I worked with Marguerite Derricks. I was under the whole Debbie Allen camp. I worked with Bob Talmadge and Jeff Andrews at the time. And those people really honed my skills for me. They really would hire me and work with me, especially Marguerite Derricks. I mean, turn, spot. I mean, she was on me. But what they needed from me was a raw talent that I had. And I would choreograph different, at that time, things for them that were in the vein of what I considered to be my style. And they loved it. And then they would add their thing in, and then they would put me in their pieces. So a lot of it for me was bumping my head in the beginning. And really learning this business from scratch. So as far as training, it definitely came from those choreographers. A lot of jazz funk with the turns and the ups and the downs and the leaps and the spotting. And that's pretty much where it was for me. A lot of jazz funk, a lot of the street kid in me. And then from there, it was learning from those greats in the business who would put me in.
Rosero, how do you when somebody sends you a song, how do you visualize a dance in conception?
Wow. The hardest thing for me to do is to fight what my body does. And what I mean by that is the song really speaks to me. So if you put on a song and immediately I get to listen to it, it puts me in a head. It puts me in a vibe of movement that I'll start doing. And then I have to repeat that movement when I like it. That's how it works for me. And I always try to come up with something that's a great beginning, a middle that holds you, and an end, because I feel the brain is the thing that choreographers don't understand, is what you're really tricking up is the human brain. When we watch something as people, we go, wow, that's nice. And then we look at it and then we go, whoa, that was great. And then you watch it for a while. And then at the end, you get on your feet. So that's how I like to choreograph. I like to choreograph with a great beginning, a middle that holds you, and an end. So it takes you on a journey. And for me, the verses of a song tell the story. And the chorus for me, a lot of times, is that moment of playing with your brain a little more. So all of that to say, when the song comes on, I've been doing this so long, man. It's the vibe of the music. If it's a lyrical piece, I love it. It hurts my body more, but I love it. I'm bandaged up pretty well. If I'm doing some lyrical stuff, I'm bandaged up pretty good. But definitely the music speaks to you, all forms of it. I don't like labels on music, just like I don't really like the labels of the dance. People need it, but I really love the music when it speaks to me in all forms.
So when you get a record or when you get a song, you listen to it and you just follow your body?
Yeah, when I listen to it and I vibe to it. 100%. Now, if it's something like when I did Usher, You Make Me Wanna, he was like, I gotta have something that feels like, he had a failed album and he was a little young teenager and he was coming back with a second thing and he wanted something that was very Michael Jackson. And he was like, how Michael does the moonwalk and everybody, I need something like the moonwalk. And I remember when we were choreographing it, my partner at the time was over it. And I stayed up and I think, what does this song make me feel? What does it make me want to do? It makes me want to, the song is called You Make Me Want to, makes me want to, take my hat off. It makes me want to do this. It makes me want to da. So I incorporated. And then at the end, let's not moonwalk, but let's leave our shoes on the stage. Like we just tore it up on stage. And then we walked out of our shoes and then we walked away and all was left was the shoes. And that worked for him. It was something that the kids started doing like crazy, but then that was different from when Tony, we did the American Music Awards in 2018, right before the pandemic. And it was 2018 or 19. And they were asked her to come back as a guest person and do Unbreak My Heart and Breathe Again. And she wanted to put a remix on it. And I said, Tony, people like the original of Unbreak My Heart. Why don't you just let me choreograph? Well, why do you want to choreograph something to that? I said, because it would be beautiful if we just had like violin players and they were playing to your music, but then I would move them around the stage and choreograph them in that song. And then we can give you a dramatic ending. And it was everybody was on that show. I remember it was a Taylor Swift night. Dua Lipa was popular, all of those major artists. And then Tony did that and she got a standing ovation. And it was just beautiful, from the screams to the fog to the violin players doing choreography to her music. Again, the music spoke to me in a different way. And it for me, it never lets me down. It doesn't. If I like it and I feel great about it going out into the world, then, either you're going to love it or hate it, but either way, you're going to watch it and talk about it. I don't care.
What's that logo on your hat?
Mine?
Yeah.
It's a LA street lamp with the shoes hanging off of it.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't have.
Well, somebody told me that means something I didn't know it meant. That this is where you buy the drugs. I was like, really? I just thought I grew up with street lamps. I never knew that. I don't know if that's true. But anyway.
Derek?
Why are you looking at me, Frank?
Derek, where do you get your drugs, Derek? From Billy O.
As a matter of fact, the shoes are hanging right down the street.
You talked about bandaged up, man. You don't really think about the physical beating that your body
Oh
takes
my
from this
God.
shit. Yeah, I mean, it's like an athlete, right? I mean,
No, it's very much so, man. And I'm somebody that, I was flipping off the walls and twirling up in the air and coming down and laying out. And, I had my little bag of tricks that, my jumps aren't as high. They're closer to the floor. they stay a lot closer than they used to be. I'd be up in the air twirling. Now they're kind of low. But they're still there. Who needs 4 turns when 2 will get it done? It's those things. You start, as you get older, you use this brain a lot more. And then you put that on those younger bodies that what it needs to look like. I definitely get out there and still do it, but not as long.
You said before that anyone can dance. You can teach anyone to dance. I got to tell you, when you get older, when you talk about really old, I'm 74. We dance a lot with our fingers now. Like I hear music like this, like I don't want to move.
Oh man, that's a big part of. Watch my stuff. It's all here. These arms move like a 20-year-old.
Could you choreograph Billy?
I got you, Billy.
Yeah,
I got you.
To Little Brown Jug.
I tell you, I was in Germany. When I was 19, and I shared a hooch with a black guy, and I said he was a great dancer. And all I wanted to do was get laid. I was in Germany, and I said, look, just teach me how to dance so I can get laid. And the big dance at the time was the skate. That was the big dance, was the skate. And he taught me for hours. He worked with me, and he said to me, just forget it, man. He said, just use money. Use money, he said.
Well, all he needed to do was have you walk. And once you have you walk, it would have been fine.
Yeah.
I say anybody can dance. As long as you can walk, I'll put you to some rhythm. We're out of here.
Wow.
So,
I should have ran into you in Germany, man. I'd still be over there like a player.
A lot of the old classic movies featured great dancers. Cagney and Hope. Kelly and Astaire, Donald O'Connor. They all had one thing in common. They all shot the dance from the head to their foot, because Fred Astaire said, if you're going to shoot the dance, shoot it. I don't want to cut in and see faces. I want to see the dance. I want to see the steps. I want to see the artistry. Did you ever think of that? Did that ever influence you at all?
For me, I don't know if that, I understand that 100%. The one thing that I love is when I'm able to go in with the editor once they put down something and fix it, because a lot of times it gets so choppy and it gets so places that you don't want it. Everybody misses the story. See, there's a story there's always a story to something. There's a story when the artist did the song. There's a story to the movie. There's a story in the dance. So you have to shoot the dance and not chop it and edit it up from head to toe. I love that. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think that's just something as a creative that you instinctively may know, but that's definitely a fact. I didn't know that was what was said by him, but I definitely believe that 100%. It's the worst when you go in and you put down something and it's not able to come across on the screen because and no disrespect to the editor, they weren't there from conception. They don't know the little nuances and the little things that will tweak somebody or catch somebody's eye. Everybody always thinks it's the most busiest thing. It's the simplest thing that people love. That makes me feel like, wow, that was really cool. All they did was turn their head left and right and up and down. But it's the way they did it. And if you don't get it, then it messes the whole story.
That's
I love it.
I love what he was talking about the choreography. You're talking about having a beginning, like right in the lead and a kicker. In the end, you want to leave them with something that, hey, look what I just saw.
And you have to, right? Like we as people who watch shows and we as people who watch movies, our brain is this computer that's so complex that it takes in things. You have to make it simple and effective, but you also have to make it like a wow. Like sometimes at shows when people are just sitting there and they're watching it, if they get to an end and they go, okay, that doesn't mean they didn't like it. It just means they're really thinking about the presentation that you put together. And it's like, oh, did it make sense to me? Well, it's my job to make it make sense to you. So a lot of times it's that catch-22. I've done things where people have sat and watched it the whole time and then they'll be like, I'll be like, shit. Uh-oh. It didn't mean they didn't like it. It's just that I missed something. I missed an opportunity in there somewhere. And then sometimes it's hard because, Frank, television stuff turns over really quick, right? You get in there and you get them for a quick morning rehearsal. I remember on Shake It Up, we get them for 15, 20 minutes, they're out, 30 minutes max. And then you get them the next day and hopefully they win over it. So there's a lot that can go in it. You have to it is definitely a beginning, middle, and end for me.
The thing I remember most about Shake It Up is that there were so many layers to the dance that if anybody watched the show just once, they wouldn't see it all. You'd have to watch it 2 or 3 or 4 or even 5 times to clue in on what exactly you were going for at any moment in time. And that was great. That was great.
Yeah. It was a great moment for me. And I always will say thank you to you, Frank, because you were the one person that I always felt like I could talk to there and say something to, and you let me know what was going on, or I really appreciated that. I did.
Derek thinks you're.
Oh my God! Everybody says.
Derek's
always saying these things. I don't believe it. It's obviously there's been a pre-interview. There's no way.
Derek thinks what?
Derek thinks.
You didn't.
We're funny. We're funny.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Derek's breaking Frank's balls.
Basically, Frank.
Gotcha.
Frank's a nice guy, and we don't see that end of it.
I got it.
We did 59 episodes. Is that right? Close to 60 episodes of Shake It Up.
Yeah.
So that was
I believe.
Is that like the sweetest gig to be on a weekly gig like that?
It was, and it was amazing. It was amazing. And at the same time, one of the seasons, I was doing a show called, because they overlap, America's Best Dance Crew. And you couldn't tell me nothing during those days. I was all over the LA, every studio. It was great. It was good.
I got to ask you, I see Springsteen on Broadway. Obviously, that you must have did something with the show, or you wouldn't have it up on the wall.
I'm actually at a friend's spot.
Oh, okay.
He has a lot of music.
I was trying to figure out what choreography could have been on Springsteen on Broadway.
He has a he's won Emmys and stuff, and I just realized I'm in this room that's going to be like, whoa, all this stuff in the back.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out. He plays the piano on stage and talks. What choreography?
I think he had a lot to do with the producing and stuff of it.
On that note, I was reading about you in the movie Vanilla Ice. Did you have anything to do with that? What is?
The Tom Cruise? Yeah. Is that the Tom Cruise one? Yeah, I did him and Penelope Cruz. So we did was that the Vanilla? That's Tom Cruise, right? Yeah, we did, there was a scene in that movie where he's walking through a club and he has to do movement. Any type of movement, there's always a choreographer involved. And with Tom, it was very much so like Leslie. You gave him some movement and a pattern of how he should go through the club, and he made it his own. We did that scene with him. And it was really, it's so funny. I was there for maybe a week on that movie. Vanilla Sky.
Vanilla Sky.
And,
Vanilla Sky, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Right. I was like, I worked with Vanilla Ice. No, it was Vanilla Sky.
I got you, Vanilla Sky.
Yeah, it was Vanilla Sky, and he was great to work with. He was a little he was smaller than I thought. Not short. He's not a short guy, but he was just. I thought he was a lot taller until I worked with him. But that was cool.
Anybody you want to work with that you haven't worked with yet? Any aspirations?
More than wanting to work, I'm really very more onto the people that I'm working projects. Like I'm doing some stuff with Keke Palmer right now, and
she just launched a network, right? Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, she just launched her thing, and we have something in the works this top of the year that I'm very excited about with her. As far as working with different artists, no, there's not. It's been a good 30 years with this, and I love it. I love the creative process. I adore it. It's what I live for. My dad always told me, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And he was right with that with me. But to actually be going to work with a new artist, or there's an artist I would want to work with, not really. No.
And now your son's a choreographer too?
Yeah, Eric. He's better than his dad. I like that. He keeps me real youthful with it. He'll look at something like that. That's all right. You should don't do that move. And he'd be like, Dad, you did that move. So I always do a check with Eric. His name is Eric. I always do a check with him. And then he has a group that he's in called the Knuckleheads, which he's very happy with, and he does his writing. He's a writer. He's been writing forever, and he's writing on this thing with me and Keke. So it's the game, right? You keep it pushing, you keep it going. We're in this game of entertainment and moving forward. So yeah.
If you had to attribute your success to one big break, what would that break be?
Oh wow. Well, I always say entertainment is a roller coaster, right? So I've had a few breaks. The first one would definitely be Usher. You Make Me Wanna. The next one would have to be when I did Alvin and the Chipmunks, because I remember right before that I did a movie called Hairspray and the first Step Up movie. And I was doing that with my partner, and when we split ways, he went on with, the Hairspray camp and those people, and it felt like I was starting over again. And I booked Alvin and the Chipmunks and started doing a bunch of animated movies, like Alvin and the Chipmunks, Marmaduke, Garfield, Rio. And I felt like I was getting another chance with this, and just changing with the roller coaster ride. And then the third time would definitely be when I did the whole Disney Camp Rock 2, Shake It Up, Austin and Alley. And then Now it would be back on television, like the Call Me Cats, the Netflix shows that I do, the Family Reunion, the Upshaws, The Neighborhood on CBS. You know, it's riding this roller coaster ride of entertainment. So it's those moments, those 4 moments, I would say, are definitely pivotal moments for me.
How do you choreograph Alvin and the Chipmunks animations?
That's the next
Oh,
question I
wow.
was going to ask.
It's so cool. Like, you know, there's a couple of ways. There's motion capture, which is, you know, when they put you in the suit and put the balls on you, and then it feels very cartoon, like Happy Feet. That's how they're moving. But with Alvin and the Chipmunks, you go and you get dancers, and you put together the scene. Like, there's a scene in Alvin and the Chipmunks where, well, there's 2. The first one, they're on a log. So you get these 3 dancers, and you put one on glasses and call him Simon. You get one that looks like, you know, Theodore and Alvin, and you choreograph them. And then the animators and take it and they put it in the computer and they draw the chipmunks around your movement. And so it looks more real. And you have to really make sure that, for me, it was always, you know, would a chipmunk be able to do this? Which is crazy because they have those, they have these.
That's the title of your book.
Yeah.
Would a chipmunk be able to do this? By
Because
Rosero
they had
McCoy.
big bellies. They had big bellies that went down to their feet. So you had to make sure it was a lot of arm. Hence, you know, the arm movement, which I'm really good at, which we talked about. And then the same thing when I did the Chipettes. It was the very thing. We had brought in 3 female dancers, which they were very happy. I mean, those dancers got paid very well with their residuals because that movie was such a big hit, and they're still getting little checks from it. So that's how you do it. You put together like a skeleton crew, and then when we did Rio, we had everybody in that room, birds flying. You know, it was a lot going on for that opening. But yeah,
I got a question about that. Just so we can segue into that quickly. When you do songs such as that, the "You Make Me Wanna" with Usher, do you get points on the songs?
No, you don't get anything.
You get your
You
payday.
don't, and then you get your payday, and it's really something, man, because you know that choreography. You know,
It's
people
iconic.
have done.
It's iconic, yeah.
It's iconic,
Yeah.
and people kept doing that, and you know, I've gotten into it with. Not gotten into it, but I've had, you know, these kids want to talk crazy on Instagram, but I've seen people do it, and I'm like, wow, yeah, that's really nice. Where have I seen that before? And I'll show where it came from originally, and then I had them say, well, you know, the routine is ours. I say, yeah, the routine is yours, but the payoff was mine.
Right.
And the payoff of the shoes being there and you coming out of it is when everybody stood up. You should have came with a different payoff. Right? Like, don't use my payoff after you did all your choreography, and use my payoff, because once you took your shoes off, that's what everybody was like, oh, bam.
Yeah.
And it was on a show called World of Dance. And, you know, I just, you know, for me, the crazy part about it is like, yeah, you come up with these moments, people use them through the years, then they're just as iconic as the song.
Yeah.
But, you know, you know, and hopefully that'll change, you know. Hopefully that'll change. And until then, you know, I know what I did. I know, you know, he just celebrated the 25 years of that record, and some people were doing it again. And I put up the posting of it, and, oh, you worked on that? I was up all night on that. Are you freaking kidding me? I didn't get any sleep with that. Of course, you know. So, but yeah, to answer your question, no, you get your paycheck for the day. You're fortunate at that time if the artist will give you credit.
Okay.
Right. So, you know,
You mean
and
credit?
that moment on the album, it's the choreographer. You know, a big part of that for me was like I was listed as a dancer on the album, and I was like, oh, no, that's not really my title for this. I choreographed this song. So, you know, but and no disrespect to him, Usher is a great guy, you know, and he's one of those artists, just like, you know, I'll say the thing when I work with NSYNC and Justin and JC and them, those guys, man, they worked hard, you know, but they know they didn't choreograph those moves.
So that, you know, that's a good question. I'm gonna play Charlemagne for a moment. So essentially, what you're saying is the artists they don't necessarily want you to have the credit for those moves because people think that they came up with those moves.
100%.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
100%. And it's really like, well, dude, I mean, you did the music, you did the song, but you know you didn't do these steps, right? And you love it when an artist comes and thanks their choreographer or their creative, because you know they don't have anything, you know, they're like, yeah, my creative did this. You know, I delivered it.
Right.
You know, but a lot of times that's hard to do when you're getting all these accolades for these moves that aren't yours. Granted, you do put your spin on things. So I kind of know why it's personal to you. But you didn't come up with coming out of your shoes, period.
Yeah.
So, you know, but anyway, you know.
Sorry, all the white guys on the show, they went to sleep right now, so we'll wake up.
No, let me ask. So many thousands of dancers go to universities and colleges to learn how to dance.
Yeah.
And dancing is not a great career. You have an infinite amount of time. You're like athletes that don't get paid. You've got a limited amount of time, and at the age of 30 or 32, you're almost washed up as a dancer.
Well, go ahead.
How many dancers can make the bridge to choreographer, and how many of the dancers go to schools and teach other kids, perpetuate that cycle?
Well, you know, I don't know what the actual percentage is. You know, a lot of people will step into dance as just for the moment, and then a lot of people will step into it for its longevity of what that is for you. You can make a good living at dance, right? What you do with that money and that time.
But what's a dancer make on a good session? What will a dancer make?
Television?
Yeah.
And movies? Oh. Well, let's say this. A Gaga dancer who's out on tour is probably making $3,000 a week, 2,500 to $3,000 a week.
And
so that's 12 grand a month, and they'll probably be out a month and a half or two. So if you get with a Gaga, someone like that, who's an artist who's doing stadiums and stuff, you can make a really good living and only work for her. You know what I mean? But if you're on that, you're probably a good dancer and booking other gigs. You can make a good living at that.
Yeah,
but like you said,
your assistant on Shake It Up was a Gaga dancer.
Right? Yeah, she was. Tasty, Christina.
Christina
Yeah,
Grady.
she was Christina Grady. She was a Gaga dancer, and I think she still is. She's just married now.
Yeah,
she's married. And I don't know if she went out on the last leg, but you know, she was a Gaga dancer, and they make good money. And then on television, and then the rules have changed a lot. You know, there's a lot with the unions and stuff now that, you know, like even, you know, when you're doing movies and sets and TV, those pays are really good. You know, and then there's Dancers Alliance, which is on board, and so your rates are a lot better than when I started. That's for sure. And I just think the odds of what you want to do is like breaking in the game. It's like, you know, okay, I want to be a choreographer. Well, if you're a choreographer, then and you're a creative, well, what's the odds of you getting in? I don't know. Your journey is different than mine. Somebody would have told me years ago, you know, you wouldn't be able to choreograph. Well, I'm a way better choreographer than I am a dancer, right? Like I am way better at that aspect of it and putting things together and seeing a creative need and fulfilling that with my steps more than being up there, you know, 5 nights a week on stage with an artist. I did that too, but I enjoyed this aspect more. And I also enjoy being on stage. When I go out with Tony, we just did South Africa about a year ago, and I put myself in the piece because I like it. I love being on stage with her. So the longevity of that is basically on you, I feel, and what your body and what you see this is. No, you're not one of those kids. Like even me, I'm not out here trying to TikTok it with these kids and do all of that. You know, I'm not that dude. You know, I mean, I've built relationships with people, and it is that. It is a relationship, and built up certain things with people that now I work. You know, I have an agent, but I get work because of the relationships I build. So Yeah, I don't know if I answered your question. I don't know what the percentage is of what dancers come out of that and start choreographing. A lot of them get burnt out with it and they're over it. It's a phase for them, But there's also other avenues. I always tell people, don't get pigeonholed into calling yourself a dancer. You're a performer. There's a lot going on in this town. Do commercials, act, sing. If you're going to be in this game, do it all. You look at my page, man, I got so much acting and other things going on there besides dance because I'm all of that, right? Choreography is the thing that has taken off for me. But, back in the 90s, I had, I did Mind of Mencia, I did a bunch of stuff. And even on this Family Reunion Netflix show, I have a reoccurring role as Roman on Family Reunion, So I love it all. So.
Back to staying alive, flexibility, diversity, stay alive.
Stay alive, right? 100%.
You have any?
Yeah, I got a couple questions. So
I figured you would.
Yeah, who's the best artist you've ever worked with? Like most talented, most versatile, just like knocked your socks off.
He's looking for Prince here, I think.
Oh no.
Oh,
we've already gotten.
Wow. Who has? I would say Keke Palmer for me.
Oh. Yeah,
who has the drive for me? It would be Keke Palmer right now.
Okay.
Like right now, other than her, wow, that's a hard one. I would say people who stick out in my mind are definitely her.
Okay.
Justin Timberlake. Wow, he was one that worked really hard. Usher. Celine. Wow.
If you had a dance battle and you had to
pick, good. Good.
Oh, I have another question. What's the best dance studio in LA right
now? I like West Coast dance. A lot of people like Millennium. I like West Coast because I feel that me and Noreen, we have something special together where she really works with the dance community on whatever that is. I like her studio. Millennium is another one. But other than that, I mean, I don't really frequent them until I need them. So, West Coast or Millennium.
Okay. And then my last question is, could you paint the picture if somebody was watching this like in Montana or even Dublin, Ireland? What's the LA vibe like? You live in LA, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Can you describe the vibe of LA right now? Because I know one thing I noticed when I moved to LA, the dancers really had a pulse on the vibe of LA because they were always not that I know you are probably not this way now, but they were in the clubs all the time. They were with they were always, even if they weren't famous or discovered yet, they were still with famous actors and people in the industry. So.
Well, I think the vibe of LA for the kids who actually are in LA is very much so the hustle of getting work. There's a lot of classes that go on, like you see online. These kids are always doing classes. I think they're getting hip to now taking classes more from people who are working in the industry, because they're finding out that this is a business. Right? Like a lot of people look at the Instagrams and think that's real, and you get here and that's not real.
Right.
What's real is that this is a business first.
And you also do master classes around the country, don't you?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I do master classes everywhere. I do when I'm not working in LA on something, then I'm generally out doing a master class. Like I have some coming up right now in Florida, and back on the East Coast. My major areas for classes are the East Coast, Florida, Texas, and then on the West Coast. But I do master classes all the time when I'm not, it's my way of giving back. It's my way of getting the pulse on what the kids are doing. I love it. It's my own little, I was going to say my own little private Idaho. I don't know how I was going to say that. I don't even know if that's right. It's my own little, I don't know what B-52s came in, but it's my own little thing that I like. And I think the pulse and the vibe of LA is just that. Is these kids are really, really trying to see, since the pandemic is over, how to get back in this game correctly. And it is. Like for me, I'm a club kid. I still go out. I was out, is today Friday? Today's Saturday. I was out Friday night.
Okay.
I was out last night.
So was Derek.
What were the spots? What are the spots?
Well, you gotta do. I don't go out for the kids. I go out for the DJ. So last night was Tony Powell, and he was at the Act Bar, and he was spinning house music.
Oh.
And house music is, it's back because of Drake and Beyonce and her "Break My Soul" and stuff. But that music for me is always fueling my soul. So I'm out. I was out Friday for that. The next time I'll be out is probably Thursday when it's another club called Don't Sit on the Furniture.
That's the name of the club?
Yeah, Don't Sit on the Furniture. And it's an underground, but I'm a particular age. I'm at that club and I am home by 1. Right. And that's leaving the club. That's leaving the club by 12:30, kids. Trust me. I'm there while the DJ is set up. Let's turn this music on. Let's get it cracking. I got to get to bed. But it is, for me, it's a matter of even going out because it keeps me in tune with what's happening. I'm that guy that's just dancing and going for it, right? Like I said, I'm bandaged up more, but these kids don't know. Pull this baseball cap down and give them some shit. They're happy. Feed them a little bit. They don't know the difference. They can't. They're all walking around with full beards anyway, looking 100. They don't know. So it's they don't know they're partying with their grandfather. That's awesome. Just think, oh, he's getting it. Hey, it's a new thing. Hey. So that's right, exactly. Yeah. Fantastic. So all right.
When you're looking at these young kids, you're looking at you ever see like a can't miss kid? Like you say to yourself, this kid can't miss, like Zendaya or a Bella or any of them that you work with. You said, all right, this kid's going.
Oh yeah. There's always kids that I was just in Vegas doing an industry day, and the kids out there are so hungry, man. I did it was a big industry day a week ago, and to watch those kids dance and do my steps and to just go for it and live their best life, they're good. I can't wait to work with. So I can't wait to have a gig where I can really hire a bunch of kids like that again. I don't know if the Soul Train Awards are hitting me up this year because the 2 artists that I was doing it with for the last 4 years aren't there. So we'll see. But did I tell you I was nominated for an award?
Yes, I think. I think.
No, I'm joking.
I think we said it.
Trying to do that final plug since I see you guys are trying to wrap it up. Did I tell you I was nominated? No. Yeah. So there's definitely some good talent that that I like to work with. I love seeing it. Love it.
You ever work with Kanye?
No. Never have.
No interest in it, or?
No interest, never have. I think that what he does is really to get people in a twist is his way of doing it. I have really nothing to say, but other than that, and sometimes it's just like, oh, why do we all fall for it? It is what it is.
Sort of like
That's a whole nother.
Sort of like Donald Trump.
Well, yeah, it's like you fall for it.
Yeah.
You fall for it.
Yeah.
Well, if we didn't pay it no mind, like we're talking about it right now, if we paid it no mind, then they wouldn't get any gas. But that's what we do as humans. So
you reminded me of it because your shirt says I don't know what it says, but I see the
it says it says black, white, human.
All right, nice.
Like it.
Yeah, that's what I feel, right?
Yeah.
It don't matter to me.
One race, the human race, huh?
That's right, 100%, man. Yes. And we all, and sometimes people forget that the way things change happens when we all make a change together. Slavery didn't end just because black people wanted it to end. It was because white people jumped on board and we ended it. Right? It wasn't just one race of people. Whenever change comes about, it comes about because we all as humans make it happen. So that's all it is for me.
We could certainly lose a lot of changes, so let's hope we do make it happen.
Yeah.
Great having you, Rosero.
Thank you, guys.
Great guest, man.
You're
really
a great guest.
You, man. Really enjoyed it.
I appreciate you asking me, Frank, and it was nice meeting you both. Thank you so much.
Nice to meet you as well.
Take care, Rosero.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
All righty. Bye.
That was great, man. He was really interesting guy.
Another interesting guest.
Really interesting guy. Yeah, that's amazing.
A couple of times during that thing, I thought I heard Derek orgasming. I heard, oh, Oh,
I was trying to help you guys because you were hurting over here. You guys were
I
like
thought we'd get
out of your depth. You
yeah,
were.
without a doubt. I thought you'd jump into the Prince thing more. I thought when he said,
Well, he
mentioned
didn't.
Prince,
He didn't.
give me an opening there. Yeah.
He didn't like Prince, and I've heard that many times from people. I don't know. I would imagine
you like Prince's music.
Yeah,
There's a difference between
totally.
liking his music and knowing him personally and liking him personally.
Well, he didn't say he didn't like him. He just didn't like salads.
His turkey burger.
If he had given him a turkey burger, can you imagine how his story would have
He would have
changed?
changed the title. Which
Isn't
goes
that
to show
funny?
you, I guess, when you're on top like that, the slightest thing, and somebody's got a story. You know, all you got to do is give somebody a bad tip, and then he's going to be talking about that guy forever. What a cheap prick that guy was. He gave me a bad tip.
Everybody's got a story.
Everybody's got
got a story.
But,
So between Joe West and Rosero, we were packed this episode.
loads of talent coming in the door there. Keep it going, Frank.
Keep it going.
Don't run out of friends.
See you, everybody.
See you, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it.
Next week's guest, two-time Super Bowl champ with the 49ers, now an actor, Dwight Hicks.
We'll see you next week.